Stars and the solar system. Introduction. We all have seen the sky at the night. Doesn't the entire sky seem dotted with countless stars? However, we can see that some stars are bright and some not so bright. Why is it so? This is because there are some star-like objects which do not twinkle, while some do. Thus, the objects which do not shine are known as planets. As we can see, the moon is the brightest object seen in the sky. The moon, along with the stars, the planets, and many other objects in the sky are called as celestial objects. We in this session will focus on the moon. Phases of the moon. While looking at the sky and the moon, have you ever wondered why does the shape of the moon change every day? Like some days, the moon appears like a thin line, while some days it is not present at all, and while some other days it is not present at all. The day on which the whole disk of the moon is visible is known as the full moon day. After that, every night, the size of the bright side of the moon keeps on diminishing. On the 15th day, the moon is not at all visible. This day is known as New Moon Day. The whole process of moon is repeated again, but now in reverse mode. The next day, after the New Moon Day, only a small portion of the moon appears in the sky. Thereafter, the moon keeps on growing in size. Then again on the 15th day, we once again have the view of the full moon. Thus, the various shapes of the bright side of the moon that you saw right now is called phases of the moon. It takes the moon about 29.5 days to completely cycle through all 8 phases. Many calendars refer to this period as a month. Phases of the moon. Reason. The moon goes through a cycle of change in shape for a month. But why does the moon change its shape every day? This happens due to the relative motion of the sun, the earth, and the moon. The moon does not have light on its own, but the sun and the other stars do. Thus, the moon is visible only when the sunlight falling on it gets reflected towards us. Also, when parts of moon are visible to us, that is also because of the sunlight falling on it, which then gets reflected towards us. This is when the phases of the moon are visible. The moon's surface. The moon has always been a fascinating object for poets and storytellers. However, if we go near it, we will find that the moon has many craters. Its surface is rough, barren, and dusty, and there is no presence of water. Further, it consists of large number of steep and high mountains. Some of them can be the highest mountains on the earth. The moon, unlike Earth, has no atmosphere. Therefore, an existence of life on the moon is questionable. Did you know who was the first person to land on the moon? Neil Armstrong was the first person to land on the moon on 21st July 1969 IST, followed by Edwin Aldrin. Summary. The objects which do not shine are known as planets. The moon, along with the stars, the planets, and many other objects in the sky are called as celestial objects. The day on which the whole disk of the moon is visible is known as the full moon day. On the 15th day, the moon is not at all visible. This day is known as New Moon Day. The various shapes of the bright side of the moon that you saw right now is called phases of the moon. It takes the moon about 29.5 days to completely cycle through all 8 phases. The moon does not have light of its own, but the sun and the other stars do. Thus, the moon is visible only when the sunlight falling on it gets reflected towards us. The moon has many craters. Its surface is dusty and barren. There is absence of water and atmosphere on the moon.